Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating biological mystery straight from the Anti-Aging-labs field notes. It's one of those things that completely flips how we think about the food we eat, our meal timing, and even how our bodies age. You know, we generally think a calorie is just a calorie, right? But what if I told you that the exact same food eaten at a different time of day triggers a completely different biological reaction? It's a phenomenon that literally dictates how fast you age, and it all comes down to thousands of hidden clocks ticking away inside you right this very second.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine two identical plates of food. If you eat, say, 600 calories at noon, your body handles it beautifully. It just uses it for pure fuel. But, and here's the crazy part, eat those exact same 600 calories at 10 p.m., and your body treats them like a threat. The same exact food raises your blood sugar higher, shoves more of it straight into fat storage, and puts real measurable strain on your liver. It's the same meal, the same person, the same calories. So what on earth is causing this radically different biological response?
Well, the culprit isn't the calories themselves. It's this sneaky villain called chronodisruption. Basically, this is the desynchronization between the master clock in your brain and the peripheral clocks in your organs. To put it simply, late-night eating causes a literal time zone clash inside your own body. You're essentially forcing half of your biology to work the night shift while the other half is already fast asleep in bed.
Section 1. The conductor and the musicians. To really wrap our heads around this, it helps to think of your body like a giant symphony orchestra. See, you don't just have one body clock, you actually have thousands of them, and they're organized into two main tiers. Tier 1 is the master clock up in your brain. That's our conductor. It sits right in your hypothalamus, and its ultimate time giver, or Zeitgeber, is light. So blue light hits your retina, resetting it every morning, and that dictates your sleep, wake, and melatonin cycles. But then on Tier 2, we have the peripheral clocks. These are the musicians, right? Your liver, your gut, your pancreas. And here is the absolutely crucial point. They largely ignore light. Their time giver is food. So whenever you eat, that sudden rush of nutrients resets their local clocks, which controls things like fat burning and digestion.
Section 2. The 10 p.m. collision. Now, when you eat during the day, the conductor and the musicians are playing in perfect harmony. But let's see what happens when the sun goes down.
Here's the real tragedy of a late dinner. If you eat a meal at 10 p.m. while sitting in dim indoor light, you are staging a direct head-on conflict inside your body. The master clock in your brain looks at the dark room and says, "Hey, it's night, I've closed up shop. Cool down, release melatonin, let's repair." But your liver and pancreas, they sense the arriving food, panic like disgruntled night shift workers, and yell, "Fuel just arrived, everyone back to work, switch to daytime mode." The tragic irony here is that both clocks are doing their jobs perfectly, but that late meal forces a daytime state onto an organ system that your brain has already locked up for the night.
Just trace your body's typical 24-hour cycle for a second. Notice that beautiful rhythm? Cortisol wakes you up at 9 a.m. Your physical strength peaks around 5 p.m., and by 9 p.m., melatonin starts steadily rising. Your body is entering its metabolic off hours. Core temperatures are falling. If you drop a heavy dinner right into that 10 p.m. slot, right before your deepest sleep, you violently interrupt that natural, necessary wind-down.
Section 3. The organ-by-organ cost. So who actually pays the price for this late-night biological traffic jam? Let's take a quick tour of what happens to 3 specific organs when they get forced onto the night shift.
First stop on our tour, the pancreas. Like we just saw, by 9 or 10 p.m., your brain is pumping out melatonin to help you sleep. Your pancreas has essentially put on a tiny sleep mask. But melatonin actually has a secondary, slightly stealthy job when it comes to your pancreas. Here's how it works. That melatonin binds to specific receptors called mTNR1B on your pancreas, and that actually suppresses insulin release. Now, this is an incredibly elegant design for a fasting, restful night, but it's a total disaster if you just ate a massive bowl of pasta. Because of the melatonin, your pancreas is essentially trying to work with the emergency brakes pulled half on. So the exact same carb load you would have cleared effortlessly at lunch now leaves your blood sugar elevated for much, much longer.
Next up, let's check in on the liver. Now, the liver's clock runs on a very strict daily schedule. During the day, it loves to burn fat for fuel, but at night, its cellular machinery actually dials down the enzymes needed for fat oxidation.
And because it can't efficiently burn those late-arriving nutrients, it defaults to a process called de novo lipogenesis. I know, it's a fancy term, but it simply means the liver converts that surplus glucose and fat straight into storage lipids. This specific process feeds directly into fatty liver issues and whole-body insulin resistance. The source material literally refers to this as accelerating hepatic aging. You are essentially aging your liver faster.
Finally, our third stop, the gut. You know, nighttime for your gut isn't just about resting. It's an active, highly essential maintenance shift. When you eat late, you'll lock out the night shift cleaning crew. You completely stop the migrating motor complex, which is this slow wave that sweeps out debris from your intestines. You also feed your gut microbes at the exact wrong time, disrupting their strict daily cycles. And this can actually loosen the tight junctions of your gut wall, allowing bacterial fragments to leak right into your bloodstream. This stokes the low-grade inflammation that is a primary driver of aging.
Section 4. The cellular toll. Autophagy. Okay, it gets even deeper than this. Let's zoom in past the organs, all the way down to the cellular level to see the ultimate longevity cost.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between these two nighttime states. On the left, during a proper fasting night, a nutrient-sensing pathway called mTORC1 goes completely quiet. This signals your cells to start autophagy, literally recycling worn-out cell parts and damaged mitochondria. It's a deep, deep clean. But on the right, the late meal night, eating late keeps mTORC1 switched on. The cleaning crew is completely locked out. Even worse, forcing your mitochondria to process food when they're scheduled to rest causes them to leak reactive oxygen species. That is basically molecular rust, pushing your cells straight toward premature aging.
Section 5. Syncing your body clocks. Okay, I know the problem sounds intense, but here's the incredibly empowering part of this explainer. The solutions are amazingly simple. They're completely free, and they are highly effective. Let's look at how to get your conductor and your musicians back into perfect harmony.
Here are 4 evidence-based moves to perfectly sync up your light and food cues. First up, early eating. Finishing your meals 3 to 4 hours before bed gives your organs that true fasting night they need. Next, front-load calories. Eating the bulk of your food early in the day perfectly matches your body's peak insulin sensitivity. Then, morning sun. Getting just 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight right when you wake up hard resets that master clock in your brain. And finally, dim lights. Simply turning off overhead blue light after 8 p.m. ensures your melatonin rises right on schedule.
Actually, scratch that. If doing all 4 of those feels a little overwhelming right now, just remember this one number: 1. If you only pick one single move from this entire explainer, just finishing dinner earlier, you resolve the vast majority of the biological conflict we've talked about today. You're keeping food out of your biological night, and that is huge.
And you know, you don't just have to take my word for it, because meal timing leaves very specific, measurable fingerprints in your blood work. Late eaters often see higher triglycerides, worse cholesterol ratios, rising liver enzymes, and creeping glucose levels. But by syncing your clocks and adopting that earlier eating window, the data from Antiaging-labs shows that these exact biomarkers can dramatically improve in just 90 days. It's a small shift in the clock for a massive compounding return in your biology.
Which brings us to our final thought. The science here is incredibly clear. Night is when your body runs its critical maintenance shift. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. If your organs are begging for a rest to repair your body tonight, what time will you finally close your kitchen? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and here's to syncing your clocks.